Welcome to Truckee Talks. I'm your host, Maya Schneider, and this week I'd like to introduce you to John Wilcox. John is with the Squaw Valley Institute. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's nice to have you here. Now, tell us what the Squaw Valley Institute is. Let's start there.
We're a new nonprofit organization that was started earlier this year, and our main purpose is to bring events into Squaw Valley having artistic, cultural, and educational values.
Almost like an arts council for Squaw Valley.
Sort of. I guess you could call it that.
And you promote lectures, classes, exhibits?
So far we've done a variety of programs, but we aren't focused on any one kind of program. It basically, if it is in the arts, or it's cultural, or it's educational, it could be a potential program for us.
Now, you're the president of Squaw Valley Institute.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about you and your background. How did you get to Squaw, first of all?
I've been skiing there since the mid-'60s.
Yeah, how most people got there.
Been a weekend. I lived in the Bay Area and always loved the mountains and came to the mountains a lot. And I was running a business, and I'm more or less a business manager and entrepreneur. And about 12 years ago, I sold my business to some younger people that I worked with and bought some property in Squaw Valley and became a part-time resident and then later a full-time resident there.
Was the Squaw Valley Institute your idea?
No, it was suggested by a consultant who did a study on tourism in Squaw Valley, and that study was published in the fall of 1999.
And that basically said, you guys are doing great, but you could use some more arts?
It made a bunch of different recommendations, and one of the several recommendations was that we found a nonprofit institute.
Now, you're the former member or a former member of the Squaw Valley Advisory Council.
Yes.
And what was that?
That's called the Municipal Advisory Council, or the MAC, the locals call it, and it's an appointed group that advises the county supervisors on behalf of the community.
So you've been involved in Squaw Valley pretty much since you landed there, it sounds like.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the formation of the Squaw Valley Institute. How did it come to be, and who is a member or who belongs?
We started having meetings in the fall of 1999 after we received this recommendation, and we sort of had a shifting group of interested locals, and we really didn't know how to form an institute or exactly what the institute should do. And so over a period of a couple of years, we had sporadic meetings and discussed ideas, but it was all kind of general and didn't really get anything concrete established. One thing that's kind of backwards about our formation is most other institutes of this type are founded by people that have a focus on a certain kind of art or culture, and usually there's a wealthy person there who
a benefactor.
Is a benefactor, and so they start with focus and money. We kind of are the reverse of that.
Broad scope and no money at all.
Right, and we did not have any wealthy people writing checks, and we didn't have focus on one kind of event or program. But we went ahead and incorporated anyway.
And said, we can make this happen. Were there
Yes.
other models that you were looking at, John? Were there other towns or cities?
Yes, we were advised about the Aspen Institute early on, and that's sort of the granddaddy of them. And when we looked into it, we found that just about every major ski resort in North America has such an entity, and most of them have been in business for a lot of years. Aspen has been going for 52 years, and they have hundreds of programs and thousands of members and a huge budget, and do a wide variety of different kinds of programs.
Do you see that as a goal, as a place for the Squaw Valley Institute to go?
It would probably take us another 50 years to catch up with them,
Yeah.
but we plan to grow and expand our breadth as money and opportunity permits.
So who are the members then of the Squaw Valley Institute?
We presently have about, in the high 70s, I think 77 or 78 members.
That's impressive.
Most of them are individuals that live either in Squaw Valley or Truckee or Tahoe City. A few of them are businesses. We haven't really had a serious membership drive, but there are people that heard about what we were doing, read publicity about our events, and contacted us for more information. So we've been selling two kinds of memberships. A founding membership is $150, and a regular membership is $25. We presently have, I think, 45 founding members and about a little over 30 regular members. And we're going to close the founding memberships at the end of this year. So there won't be any future founders.
So it's like a charter member, if you will.
And we've had a number of businesses have come forward. The first couple were Squaw Valley Ski Corporation and Granite Peak Management, which is a property management firm in Squaw Valley. And more recently, the resort at Squaw Creek, Plumpjack Squaw Valley Inn, and Cabonas in Truckee have all become founding members.
Oh, that's great.
And recently, another nonprofit, the Squaw Valley Chapel, became a founding member.
Well, you really, certainly the Squaw Valley businesses have an interest in seeing arts and culture brought into the valley, but it's nice to know that outlying businesses are also seeing the benefit of that, and that it's not so Squaw specific.
Right. Yeah, we aim to serve the entire community, the Truckee, North Tahoe area, and we do have a number of members that don't live in Squaw Valley and don't often come there.
Can anybody join?
Yes.
Membership's open.
Anybody can join.
Anybody can join. Well, let's get some information up on the screen. We do have a website address, and if you're interested in finding the Squaw Valley Institute, they're at www.squawvalleyinstitute.org. And a little bit later on, we'll have up on the screen some more information about some upcoming events. You can also reach them at 581-3022 for more information. Well, you mentioned you've got approximately 78 members. There's some cost to becoming a member, but what you're doing requires more funding than that. How else are you funded?
Our main source of funds so far is we received a $50,000 grant from the North Lake Tahoe Resort Association.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That comes out of hotel tax money. And they've advanced us half of that, and we need to go back to get the other half after we've had about a year under our belt and report back to them.
How do you determine what kind of events to put on, and how large of a board do you have determining this? How many people are involved in that process?
We have a 7-person board, which is a kind of a wide variety of people and interests. And there's a handful of other people that come to a lot of our meetings. Our board meetings are open to the public, and there are a number of people who are not board members that have been coming to meetings. The events we've selected have just been the ideas of different people who've been involved. And so far we've done a variety of different kinds of events that have evolved from different suggestions from different people.
Now, you've had, for instance, speakers forums.
Yes.
And can you tell us something about those? Who have you had to come speak?
We've had 2 of those, and we have a third one coming up in a few days. The first one was a seminar on forests, on our local forests and their health and their fire hazard. And we had a panel discussion with 3 people there. Mike Terwilliger, who's the fire chief in Truckee,
Right.
Kathy Murphy from the Forest Service, and Bill Howdyshell, who manages the forest for Tahoe Donner.
Right.
And so they gave a very nice presentation on the health of our forest and its problems and the fire danger and particularly some of the measures that are being carried out to try and limit the fire danger. The second one we did was in late October. It was titled Lake Tahoe, Its Clarity, Health, and Future. And it featured Dr. Charles Goldman from UC Davis.
That's a big deal. There's a big name right there.
He's a really interesting man, and he gave a great presentation.
I bet that was well attended.
Fairly well, yeah. It was competing with the 5th game of the World Series.
Oh, ouch.
And also with midterms at the next day at the high schools. So we still had fairly good turnout and a very spirited question and answer session.
Yeah, that's a hot topic. It's going to stay that way for a while,
Yes.
I'm sure. There's always the tension between land use and development and the clarity of the lake and all of the different concerns of Lake Tahoe.
One of the things he said that a lot of us didn't realize was that automobile exhaust is contributing substantially to the decline in clarity.
Right, right.
So he recommends electric cars or hybrid cars or public transportation.
Well, you know, they've been, of course, this is a subject for another show, but they've been talking about limiting the vehicular traffic in Yosemite for forever and haven't managed to do that yet. So
Yeah.
I imagine it would be a pretty difficult task to undertake at Lake Tahoe.
I think so.
But not to say we shouldn't do it.
Right.
It would be pretty hard. Swing dance, Mary Lou, the producer of the show, mentioned something about that.
Yes, one of our members is a real fan of swing dancing, and he proposed that we do some swing dances last summer, and we did a series of 3 of them at the Plump Jack Conference Center. He brought in a band that's based in South Lake Tahoe. It's a 17-piece orchestra, and they are really good. A lot of them are older, retired people, but they were all professional musicians, and they put on a really great show.
If I'm not mistaken, that might have been the same band that played for the Rotary Cadillac Ball last year at the USO Affair, and they were
I'm
terrific.
not certain. It was Brian Farnan and his Tahoe Swing Band, I think it's called.
Not sure. Must have been a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
So that shows some of the diversity between the speakers forums and a swing band is sort of
Yes.
a wide swath. You have another speakers forum coming up.
yes, on November 22nd, a professor named Richard Somerville from Scripps Institute in La Jolla is going to speak on global warming. I've met him, and he's written a very interesting book, which I've read on the subject, and it's called The Forgiving Air. And he is a PhD meteorologist and is been working in this field for many, many years of what's going on in the atmosphere. I think it's going to be a really interesting program.
Now again, we've got some graphics we can put up for this. This is an upcoming speakers forum with the Squaw Valley Institute. Global Warming, Is It Happening? With Professor Richard Somerville. That will be Friday, November 22nd at 7 p.m. at the resort at Squaw Creek. And for more information, you want to contact the Squaw Valley Institute at 581-3022. When you talk about artistic, cultural, or educational values, that's broad, and you can end up doing just about anything. What's your blue sky vision? What are the kinds of events you would like to see in the future?
I guess my role in this is more of being kind of a business manager, organizer than being the visionary.
Fair enough.
And we're still reaching out to the community to come up with program ideas. We do have some other ones we're working on. There's a possibility we'll do a program called Environmental Politics of Lake Tahoe. And we have a couple people working on trying to get a panel of people who are involved in that. There's been some talk of getting people who are storytellers that would be interesting. So we're looking into that as a possibility for programs.
One of the very successful events that's just come up over the last couple of years is the Lake Tahoe Chautauqua series. And for the last 2 years, I think people have really turn back to storytelling as a way to find out more about their history and our past. It's very interesting to hear some of those speakers. So you've got possible programs, Lake Tahoe Environmental Politics, also a forum on the Lahontan cutthroat trout?
Yes, that's been suggested by one of our community members, and they are reintroducing them into the Truckee River. And they're actually expected to go up some of the tributaries, and of course our Squaw Creek is a tributary of the Truckee River, and ours are many other creeks between Lake Tahoe and Truckee.
Absolutely.
So the people that are working on that may come and give us a panel discussion on that sometime next spring. It's not scheduled yet, for sure.
All right, so these are ideas that are floating out there.
Yes.
Well, in order to do any of this, you need a handful of volunteers. Are you looking for volunteers?
We can use a lot more volunteers.
Right. So members, volunteers, you're looking for both?
Yes.
All right. And again, if you're interested in the Squaw Valley Institute and what it's doing, you want to get involved, 581-3022, or visit them on their website, www.squawvalleyinstitute.org. You came from a business background, an entrepreneur, sort of the nuts and bolts guy. How did you get involved with arts? And
Well, I particularly like certain kinds of music and dramatic art, so I've always been a person that bought tickets and went to the theater or the concert hall. But I was kind of underemployed at the time that we got to talking about this, and I was active in some other community things, so I kind of volunteered to pursue this and see where it took us. I never, at the time we started, I didn't know we'd be here or I'd be sitting in the seat, but here we are.
You're right. That's how so many people end up being the president of the board. They just sort of wake up the next day and say, what happened last night? Did people's hands go up? Did something happen that I wasn't aware of? There are a number of groups who are interested in a cultural center or a community center or a live theater in the community. Is the Squaw Valley Institute coordinating at this point with any of those groups, or do you see that as being part of your vision in the future?
There really isn't a possibility we would tackle a new facility in the near future. We might at some later date, 2 or 3 or 5 years out there.
So you're still too young, still taking the baby steps.
Yes, we do communicate with other local groups. We've had a lot of communications with the Truckee Tahoe Community Foundation, and they've shown a lot of interest in what we're doing, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more dialogue with them.
They're a great umbrella, if you will, and a great conduit for different organizations who may be interested. In fact, I believe it was the Community Foundation that hosted a forum last year or this year on the cultural center and what do we need in the community as far as an arts center and a cultural center.
Right.
So lots of different people see the need, and now if we can just get them all the resources perhaps that they need to carry it out.
Do we have time to mention our old movie night?
Please do.
We did this last May on the spur of the moment because one of our local community members found an old movie that was interesting, and it was a very popular event, and we're going to repeat it again on Sunday, December 8th at 7 p.m. in Bar 1 at Olympic House. It's free. We'll have some old movies of Squaw Valley. There's one that was done in 1959. There's another one that was done in the late 60s or early 70s by Warren Miller when he was young and poor. and rumor has it that one of our people has discovered a couple of more old movies.
Oh, it should be fun.
So this will be a great event.
It sounds like you've drummed up some old gems. So again, that's Sunday, December 8th, Old Movie Night at Squaw, and that'll be held at Bar 1.
At 7 o'clock.
Attendance is free.
Right.
How can you beat that? What a great evening.
Heck of a deal.
It is a heck of a deal. That's a wonderful thing. Is that part of your goal to present arts or present events at low cost or no cost to the community?
When we can do that, yes. We're still in our early days, but some of the events that we've done already have lost money, and I expect that we'll do a great number more that will not break even.
Nothing like being in the nonprofit world. I'll bet
Yes.
that's very contrary to your background in business.
Yes.
Well, don't let it drive you too crazy. As long as there are some grants out there to drum up, you might be doing okay.
We'll be there with our hands
Yeah,
on it.
that's right. Well, I would really like to thank you, Mr. Wilcox, for being on the show. We'll get the information up on the screen one more time. We want to get the information up there about their upcoming event. Again, Global Warming, Is It Happening? Presented by the Squaw Valley Institute with Professor Richard Somerville. This will be a lecture about climate in the 21st century. It'll be held Friday, November 22nd at 7 p.m. and it will be at the resort at Squaw Creek. And you can contact the Squaw Valley Institute either by calling 581-3022 or by looking at their website, www.squawvalleyinstitute.org. Mr. Wilcox, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for coming and sharing your institute with us. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much for having us.
It was a pleasure. We'll be back in just a moment with some upcoming events, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, and here's upcoming events in and around our region for the week of November 13th, as they are. Well, the Women's Wellness Weekend is coming back to the resort at Squaw Creek. That'll be November 15th through the 17th. This weekend features seminars, educational booths, and health-related businesses for women. Contact Tahoe Forest Hospital Wellness at 582-3534. And the Squaw Valley Film Festival returns to Squaw on November 30th. Call the Squaw Valley Ski Corps at 583-6985 for more information. And the resorts are opening. North Star opening on November 22nd. Boreal already open with limited runs, and Squaw should be opening any day now. Call your favorite mountain for updates. We have a few more events. Remember, too, that your new town council for the town of Truckee is getting sworn in on December 5th, which means they'll be sworn at on December 6th. If you want to be a part of this, do come to Truckee Town Hall at 10183 Truckee Airport Road, 6 p.m. Thursday, December 5th, and you'll see your new council get sworn in. A reminder also that the Squaw Valley Institute is instituting movie night at Squaw, and that's December 8th, Sunday. That will be at Bar 1, and that will be free to just about everybody that wants to show up. And sort of bouncing around date-wise here, I apologize for that, but want to remind you also that November 22nd is the Elegant Affair at the Boatworks Mall in Tahoe City. That's a benefit for the North Tahoe Seroptimists. So you want to find a Seroptimist and get them to sell you a ticket to that very nice event. On November 16th, Vertigo Road is playing at 9 p.m. at Bullwhackers Pub. This is a girl band from LA. Talk about bringing the arts to Squaw. There you have it. Well, we want to thank John Wilcox again for being our guest on Truckee Talks, and we'll see you next week.